Hello everyone, welcome back, and today it is basically confirmed that Ilkay Gundogan is leaving FC Barcelona this summer. Yeah, that's an actual thing. That's an actual story that I'm going to talk about, and you would not think for a second, a year ago when Ilkay Gundogan left a treble-winning City squad that he was captaining to join FC Barcelona, he would not be leaving a year afterwards. And especially with the year individually that he had, because I don't think Barcelona could have expected much more from Gundogan. I think he was a great performer. He's very consistent. And all the injury problems that Barcelona have had, he was able to be fit almost every single game for Barca. So it just makes no sense. And of course, any other serious club around the world would not even consider for a second Ilkay Gundogan leaving this summer. But it's Barcelona. You love it, but it's just so frustrating. And I know there's a lot to talk about, of course, in this deal. There's so many different elements that I want to speak about. And just a really bad look for Barcelona, to be completely honest. So I wanted to talk about all of that today. And the first thing that I want to try and do, and keyword is try, because I don't understand it myself, is try and explain Laporta's decision. Basically, Ilkay Gundogan is a high earner. And Laporta, given the financial situation, he knows that he needs to sell someone, or at least let someone go of their contract, because their financial situation is really bad. Their wage bill is very high. La Liga, they can't even register their players. Dani Olmo, their newest signing for $60 million, you can't even register him in La Liga yet. So that's a big problem. So you need someone to leave. Someone that you're paying a lot of money to has to go. And because Ilkay Gundogan is one of the only true professionals in the squad right now, he's one of the players that you have to think about, because he would actually be willing to leave because he sees his own worth as a player. There are some leeches in Barcelona's squad. To be completely honest, there are some leeches that will see out Barcelona's contract because they know that no one's going to pay them the amount that Barcelona is. And even if they're not playing, even if they're not, exactly happy with their playing time, they still will see out their contract because they don't want to leave Barcelona, the city, and the club as well. Look, I mean, it's this beautiful weather there. It's a beautiful city. So I understand not wanting to leave. And some players were given high contracts from Laporta or Bartomeu as well, and they want to stay at the club as long as possible. Ilkay Gundogan, on the other hand, if he sees a club that does not want him, he knows his own self-worth, and he says, I will leave. I will go somewhere else that I'm wanted. And basically, that's the problem, is Gundogan is such a professional that it's actually working against him. He's such a respectful player that if Barcelona doesn't want him, he will leave. Unfortunately, for the other Barcelona players that do not deserve their paychecks, that's not the same. The same cannot be said about them. So Gundogan is one of the players that's up for sale, or basically he's going to leave on a free transfer just so Barcelona can take away that $18 million a year that they were going to pay him this season. And most Barcelona fans like myself are very surprised and shocked and just do not understand this at all. I think it makes the club worse by letting go of one of your best players, and the fact that you went trophyless last season and haven't really made the signings that you needed to this summer. Would it be the best idea to let go one of your most consistent and best performers last season? No, of course not. And as I said in the intro, if you're a serious club, you do not think for a second of selling Ilkay Gundogan or letting him go for free for that matter. But it's FC Barcelona, and they wanted to sign a left winger. They wanted to sign a defensive midfielder. What we've got is an attacking midfielder and our second best player last season leaving the club. That is the transfer window that Laporta has put up. And I know a lot of people, they like to blame Bartomeu, but this is Laporta himself. He gave that contract to Ilkay Gundogan for $18 million a year. Is that expensive? Yes. Is Ilkay Gundogan a great player? Was he just coming off a treble-winning side with Man City that he was great and very important part of that team? Yes. And it was Laporta himself that gave him that $18 million a year contract, and now he does not want to honor that. He wants to let Ilkay Gundogan go. And as I said, Ilkay Gundogan is such a professional that he says, if I'm not wanted, I will leave and go somewhere else. It seems like he's going to go back to City, which I'm happy for him in that matter, because I just feel so bad for him on a personal level. It's just terrible the way that they've treated him, to be completely honest. And some Barca fans, they're trying to justify this and say, Dani Olmo, he's a younger player, and he maybe fits the role as the number 10. Better for Hansi Flick, and he's younger. I don't understand it. I think both of them could have stayed and played, but if you need to sell someone to register your players, that's a huge problem anyways. Maybe you shouldn't be shelling out, $60 million for a player if you can't even register him. It seems like it's a complete mess. And as I said, there's so many different elements that just make me question so many things about Barcelona's board currently. And another thing about this, as I touched on, it's so disrespectful to Ilkay Gundogan, because keep in mind, he just left a treble-winning Man City squad, the best team in the world, to go play for Barcelona in the last 2 to 3 years of his playing career. He decided to spend it at Barcelona, where sporting-wise they weren't at the same level as City, but he decided to trust Xavi to join the club, and he excelled. I think he was great last season. There were some times when overall the team was playing very poor, but Gundogan, he was a consistent performer. He was available every single game, which is very important, especially for Barcelona's midfield with a lot of injury problems. We could not have asked more from him as a professional and as a player for Barcelona to represent the club. I think he did Barcelona fans very proud every single time he came onto the field. And this is how you treat him. This is how you treat him a year after you give him a contract and want him to join the club. It's such a poor look for the club. And that's the main thing for me is Ilkay Gundogan, he joined Barcelona from the best team in the world because of who Barcelona used to be, because of the teams that they used to have. And I'm sure himself growing up, he watched Barca, the heritage that Barcelona as a club have. I think that's what drew him to the club. And now, I mean, think in 5 to 10 years, will we see the ramifications of decisions like this about Ilkay Gundogan, about Vitor Roque, how the club treats these players? I just don't think it's a good look, and I think like Ilkay Gundogan, if he was making this decision 5 to 10 years from now and he saw a similar situation that Barcelona didn't treat their players very well, especially the good players at the club that wanted to come here and compete and care about Barcelona and actually want to see them progress and win, and this is how Barcelona treat them, it's just such a disappointing and difficult decision to understand from Laporta. I understand it's not an easy job because Barcelona financially, they're not in the best situation, but do not splash 60 million on a player that is not a necessity if you have to let go of one of your best players last season that you just signed a year ago. It's such a poor decision. I feel so bad on a personal level from Gundogan because he seems so excited to join Barcelona, because not many players would leave the best team in the world to join a Barcelona that, competitive-wise, have not been at the same level as a club like City. He loved Barcelona. That's the reason that he left City to join Barca. He was the captain of a treble-winning Barca City squad to come join Barcelona. And this is how we treat him. So it's really a poor decision. I feel bad for Gundogan. He seems so happy to be a Barcelona player, and he loved bringing his family to games. It's just sad. It's sad to see, to be completely honest. But as I said, I really respect Gundogan for leaving and seeing his self-worth as a player and said, I'll go to City. If you don't want me here, I will leave. No problem. I won't make a fuss about it, even though I do have a contract and you guys did me pretty dirty. I'll still leave. And that's why I respect Gundogan so much as a professional. And yeah, it's just terrible. And as I said, I don't think there are any ways around it. The image of the club is harmed. I can understand if people say Dani Olmo, he's a younger player, he fits the system better. But Gundogan, being the professional and great player that he was, you cannot treat someone like this and then expect in 5 to 10 years from now other players to make the same exact decision that he did. Maybe it's Barcelona heritage, maybe that will never go away. But I'm saying I just understand some young players, like players in Vitor Roque's situation, maybe being against joining Barcelona because they saw the way that he treated him, and it seems like he's on the way out. Gundogan's on the way out as well. So I'm just saying it seems like it's a clown show. It seems like it's a circus at Barcelona currently, because as I've talked about this entire summer, Barcelona, their plan going into this summer was to do very well in the transfer market, was to sign a defensive midfielder, was to sign a left winger. 0 for 2 on that. Said, why don't we just splash 60 million on a number 10 when you have players like Fermin Lopez, Ilkay Gundogan, Pedri. Dani Olmo was great at the Euros. It's a luxury signing, as I said before. And now there's some rumors about Rafael Leao joining Barcelona. Not going to happen. No chance. Barcelona cannot even register their own players. They haven't been able to get out their away shirt, their third choice kits. I mean, we're using a kit from 2020 right now. I know it's a legendary kit. I don't want to take anything away from that. But that's the level that Barcelona are at right now. Can they sign Rafael Leao for around 100 million? Are we kidding? You can't even register your player that you just signed. That's not going to happen. So please don't buy into that at all. I wouldn't even give that a second chance, because I don't think Rafael Leao would leave Milan in the summer anyways. Barca, they're not in the situation to afford to be able to sign a player for 100 million if they cannot register their own players. And if they have to force someone out, like Ilkay Gundogan, someone that was one of their better performers last season, we can't even think about a signing of 100 million. There's no way. But as I said, the image of the club, that's, for me, it's just so unfortunate the way that this has panned out, because, to spend the last couple years of your playing career at Barcelona and then get treated like this after a year. And he was one of the better players on the team. I think Lewandowski, maybe I could understand a similar situation where he's 35, he's in the last year of his playing career at the top level at least, and he's earning a bunch of money. But Gundogan, I think, has been better than him at Barcelona. And Lewandowski, he's scoring goals, but Gundogan, he proved it on the field with his build-up play, with everything that he brought for 90 minutes. I think he proved his worth at Barcelona, yet he's the one that sold. It's really difficult to understand, and like I said, it just seems like it's a circus at Barcelona right now, because the transfer window that they've had, it's been horrible. The players that they haven't been able to get rid of that they should, it's been horrible. And now they're getting rid of someone that was worthy of playing for Barcelona for a couple more years. And that really deserved his spot after the year that he had last season. But he sold because you can't get rid of the other players that don't deserve to be here. And so it seems like Ilkay Gundogan, being the professional that he is, it just seemed like Laporta said, maybe this is what we have to do. and it seems like they're going to go through with it. And also in my last video talking about Gundogan and Ferran Torres, I got a lot of comments saying that, like, you don't know what you're talking about because Ferran Torres is terrible. I'm not saying that he's a great player. I basically just know that Barcelona are not going to be able to sell him this summer because he's one of those players that wants to see out his contract at Barcelona, doesn't really care about the playing time that he's going to get, doesn't care if he's maybe worth the money that he's being paid. He was given that contract by Laporta, so he's saying, I'm staying at Barcelona. You guys wanted to sign me, even if I'm not performing, I'm going to stay at Barcelona. And maybe some people will say the same with Frankie de Jong. Yeah, I mean, there are some players that just do not want to leave. Linglet as well. He's been on loan for 2 or 3 seasons. But because of the contract that Barcelona gave them, they don't want to leave because no one's going to pay them the amount that they're getting paid. So Ferran Torres, look, I don't think he should be a starter at Barcelona, but I'm just saying, I mean, if he's going to stay at the club anyways, you want to try and see the positive and hope that he can at some point at least try and positively impact the way that Barcelona want to play. But that we don't know if that's going to happen. If there's an offer of 20 to 30 million, yeah, sell him. I'd be completely fine with that. I'm not saying that he should be starting every single game for Barcelona, but I just don't think the club are going to be able to sell him. I think some players that should be sold will stay at the club because their contracts are high and they know that they're not going to get a better offer anywhere else. And some players that deserve to stay, like Gundogan and Vitor Roque, in my opinion, the club will look to sell them because that's just the way that the club operates, I guess. It's pretty ridiculous. It doesn't really make much sense. I'm just on the outside, so maybe I don't understand everything that's going on within the club. We don't know how bad the financial situation is. But Ilkay Gundogan and Vitor Roque leaving this summer, it's taking the club backwards, in my opinion. Maybe Vitor Roque won't pan out and be the great player that we want him to be, but he should at least be given the opportunity before he's sold permanently. I would really like to see him be loaned to Real Betis if that's the case, because I'd rather that than a permanent transfer away to Sporting, where Barcelona wouldn't be able to even see how good of a player he could become. So at least Betis, he's given that opportunity, and then maybe at some point he could come back to Barcelona and be a starter. But it's a ridiculous situation. I feel so bad, as I said, for Gundogan. I think the image of the club, it just looks like it has done some damage to Barcelona's image, because the way that you're treating players like Gundogan and Vitor Roque, what does that mean for other players that potentially would want to join Barcelona? Are they going to see this treatment and say, oh, I want to take part in that, I want to be treated like that? Probably not. But I still think Barcelona, they have that heritage. You don't want that to slowly diminish because of the way that you treat these players. So anyways, as always, thank you very much for watching my video. It was a bit of a rant. Hopefully I stayed on track a little bit. But Gundogan, I wish him all the best. He definitely deserved to stay at Barcelona. It's just so unfortunate how poorly run this club is and how much damage Bartomeu did. And now you have to be asking questions about Laporta as well, because what is he doing? Buying someone for 60 million, not being able to register him, and then you have to sell one of your best performers last season. I'm going in a circle, though. It's just such a ridiculous decision. I cannot understand and comprehend it at all. But anyways, as always, thank you very much for watching my video. I do appreciate it. Visca Barca, as always, even though these situations are just terrible, it's a terrible look. Visca Barca, and hope you all have a great rest of your day. See you all later. Peace.